Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another round Basis Picks. As always, please like and subscribe, share with a friend, a colleague, a relative, an associate, an enemy, any and all in between. It's appreciated. Now, one card of note to speak about this weekend, and we've got a Eubank on the scene. Not the main man. I guess you could technically call him the side man in this quest, but to be fair, Harlem Eubank is doing his thing, so shout out to him. But yeah, look, it's Jack Catterall versus Harlem Eubank. I can't even remember what they're calling this fight, but yeah, I guess we're gonna go through a couple of the fights on the card, give a couple of predictions, couple takes, and see if anyone can win some money. So without further ado, let's get into the picks. So on this card, there's several announcement fights, reintegration fights and such. So I won't really be going into any of those. Sky Nicholson against Carla Campos Gonzalez is one of those. She's 9-3, Sky's 12-1, trying out a new weight class. So yeah, I'm not really gonna give any predictions on that. I expect Sky to win. It will be interesting if she can actually win in a bit more of a dominant fashion. I'm not saying I expect a stoppage, but maybe just to stand a little bit more in the pocket and shoot shots, and let's see kind of if she's learned anything from the Tiara Brown defeat. Leo Atang making his professional debut. He weighed in at 226 pounds earlier. His opponent is clearly an oversized light heavy slash cruiser. He weighed in about 217 but looked incredibly podgy and stocky, so I'm assuming he's a guy that's around his walk around weight generally, not really in shape, but I don't expect Leo to be facing anyone of big note right now. The one curious thing about Leo's weight though, weighing in 226, like I looked at his body and he wasn't like the most ripped or defined. Like he did look a little bit, he looked in shape, but he looked like there was quite a lot of hydration in there, slightly a bit fleshy. So the only reason I bring that up is that would possibly concern me if he was putting on more weight as he gets older. Because if he's not like shredded down now at the age, at 18, 226 pounds, when he sort of goes up in weight to like 235, 240, 245, possibly if he gets up there, would he start looking a bit, a bit podgy? Would he be able to carry that weight properly on his frame? That's the only thing I observed from there. So that's something I'm going to keep an eye on, and I implore you guys to do so if you so choose. Like someone, for instance, like Moses Atalma, you can see his weight distribution for how much he weighs. It sort of suits his body, even if he looks a little fleshy around the midsection. Whereas I feel like Leo may bulk up and then lose a lot of his attributes because his body frame isn't used to handling it, similar to how Anthony Joshua's body frame ended up. So yeah, like I said, something to keep an eye on. Joe Cordina, he's also coming back. He's facing a guy called, I think his name is Joet Gonzalez Quiros. They both got the same record in terms of wins and losses, 17-1 apiece. However, if you look at the records of both people, and I guess the win-loss records of their opponents, yeah, there's a very much upside down record for Quiros. So he may be a big puncher, but looking at the level of opposition, he's been facing people he's not supposed to lose to anyway. So yeah, I'm expecting Joe Cordina to do the business, look sharp, get him out of there inside maybe 6 rounds, 7 rounds. He has been out the ring for a long time, so maybe they also need to marry up the two, getting the rounds in plus working on stuff, but also putting on a clinical finish. I guess the first fight to talk about would be Akib Fiaz against Alex Murphy. This one had a little bit of I'd say a little bit of spice. Press conference, Akib Fiaz bit of a shove on Alex Murphy on this new style weigh-in that they're doing in the Matchroom weigh-ins at the moment. Not sure how much of a fan I am of it, but I still prefer like weigh-ins where people actually have to make weight and you don't know if they've made weight or not, so it's very tense time. That's a bit more drama there, as opposed to people making weight early in the morning and then rehydrating and looking different later on. But such is life. Look, Akib Fiaz is a strange case to me. Both of these guys, I believe, if I'm correct, are 13-1. Neither are necessarily that big on power, so it is a lot of sort of technical abilities, tactics, and sort of just trying to outwork and control rounds. I'm not sure who, in my mind, that benefits of the two, but I feel as if, I don't know, there's something about Alex Murphy that's making me feel as if this is his fight to lose. And I'm not sure what it is exactly. But I'm gonna go with Akib Fiaz to win this fight on points. I think he will get the job done. I don't think he'll look spectacular doing it, but I do think I think he'll control enough of the rounds to make it a fairly comfortable points decision. I've got no real basis on where I'm going or where I've got that pick from, but I'm going to be bold with it. That's what I'm going to assume on that one specifically. Now, Pat Brown versus Lewis Oakford. This is a bit more of an interesting fight. And look, this is Pat Brown's third pro fight. He literally had a fight 2 weeks ago. He's a guy that is quite happy to walk into punches in order to land his own. In his first two fights, his first two opponents, he's maybe felt they can't really hurt me, so I'll take one in order to get close enough to give one. And he has said, look, when it comes time to like the bigger tests and the bigger fighters, you'll see my defensive skills, but for right now, I just want to have a tear up. The problem is, I think with everything in life, the more you don't use something, the more it becomes stale. Like muscle memory, muscles, everyone knows, like if you don't work your muscles, they don't grow and they don't even stay the same. A lot of the time they shrink, they shrivel, they decay. The same with everything else. If you don't maintain it, if you don't look after it, generally that's what happens. It's the same with your skills. Like if you focus so much on this come forward stuff, when it comes time for you to actually start doing the defense again, you don't have that muscle memory built in because you haven't been using it for so long. Just like if you're learning new languages, the more you don't use the language, you forget everything that you learned before. And while that may not be an issue now, I want to see if he actually focuses on any defense on this one, rather than just trying to come forward with a little bit of a loose high guard and walking down Lewis Oakford. Now, Oakford is going to, obviously he's going to be the one on the back foot. He's going to be the one trying to navigate the ring, trying to control the space, circumvent the sort of the body work and the attacks and the combinations of Pat Brown. But I think the problem here is that while Oakford is actually, he's a capable operator, he's technically sound, no bells and whistles, but he does everything the way that you've been trained to do it in a regular British amateur gym. I just don't think he's got the power again that's going to make Pat Brown respect him. And Oakford does have a bad habit of, when being put under pressure, firing shots at times when they're not there, almost to try and have a get off me moment. But he does leave himself open, especially when it's time to retract that hand. He does tend to sort of sometimes not pull back the shot to the correct position, which could open up some opportunities for Pat Brown to counter-attack. That being said, I don't actually think Pat Brown's going to look to counter-attack much of his stuff. I think he's literally going to try to walk him down, cut him off towards the ropes, towards the turnbuckles, and then start sort of laying shots in as Oakford is trying to pivot out of those pockets. I don't see the fight getting the distance. I'm not sure I think this is an 8-rounder, if I'm correct. I think it will go about 3 or 4 rounds. I do think Oakford is going to give up some resistance and be fairly resilient, and make Pat Brown just have to sort of come forward and work. But I think all of the backwards momentum, the constant having to change angles and change trajectories, will cause Lewis Oakford to wilt and tire and slow down. And I think a tired and defensively irresponsible or a lapse in defensive judgment from Lewis Oakford will just get him caught in a barrage, and I feel put down, or maybe put out of his misery by the referee. I do think he will hit the canvas, and I actually think he will hit the canvas and not make the 10 count, rather than the referee just waving it off. But my prediction is for Pat Brown to win, and I do think he will win via stoppage. I'm going for around about round 4 or 5. Moving to the main event. Now, this is obviously Jack Catterall against Harlem Eubank. Two people whose trajectory should not be anywhere near each other if things played out the way they're supposed to. Harlem Eubank has never been anywhere near world level at this point in time in his career. And Jack Catterall, for all of his, I guess he was always like, he kind of reigned as king of the domestic scene. Over all of the domestic opponents at 140, he kind of did look like the best of the bunch, but he was always very sort of negative, big counter puncher, obviously likes people to walk onto him, but not a very engaging person. Part of this, I feel like, is the reason why he didn't get the first Josh Taylor fight. Don't get me wrong, he won that fight quite clearly, but it wasn't like a landslide. I feel like people thought it was watching it that very first time. It was probably it was closer than people originally had it, but he did win that. So consequentially, and I guess everything after that was pretty much just geared up to him getting that rematch. And I feel like there was a lot of time wasted with opponents that weren't of the grade for him to keep his tools sharp. Want people that were going to test him, and want people that are going to put him in good fights. Hence why after the Jack Catterall fight, and you had the, what was it the, not the Regis Prograis, it was the Arnold Barbosa fight, where the whole promo thing was about how am I, like, me being boring and stuff, and that because that's the narrative of how it played out. So he hasn't been in enough fights where he's just had people being able to barrel forward like proper like pressure fighters, throw punches in bunches and make him have to fight, make him have to navigate those waters. And I feel like that is ultimately what cost him in his previous fight against Arnold Barbosa. Even though that was really bad, that was a stinker of a fight. Now Harlem Eubank, on the other hand, has never been at the levels of a Barbosa or a Josh Taylor or a Regis Prograis and sort of any of those type of fighters. But he's been building his resume, he's been building his experience in front of the world on Channel 5. He came into boxing extremely late. I think he started boxing at the age of like 19 or 20. I think he's 32 now. So he's been boxing for 11, 12 years. A lot of time they say the guys that win the world titles and stuff have probably been boxing for like 15 to 20 years before they actually get those title shots. So he's got it all to do. This is definitely a big step up in class from where he's been at, but he has been making gradual improvements in a lot of his recent fights. Now, I never really liked Harlem Eubank's style. He was very much a sort of a hit, hold, very messy, not really creating separation and space. But recently he's actually been putting punches together a bit better, being able to fight in the pocket without having to grapple. Obviously he does have a martial arts background as well, which would make sense why he likes to sort of get into those clinches a lot. But I feel like for him to win this fight specifically, he's got to almost fight different to how he usually fights, and he's going to have to make Jack Catterall be the one to walk forward on him. Because I feel like him on the front foot, trying to chase Catterall, trying to outspeed him, outdog him, Catterall's going to do his negative negating, like pot shot, spin around the target, hit, then hold, push back to the ropes and get back off again. And I feel like he can do enough of that where it's a nasty looking fight from an entertainment point of view, but he's just winning those rounds because Harlem Eubank just doesn't have the skills or the grit to be able to work in those little intricate spaces. I feel that Harlem's going to have to go more on the back foot and make Jack Catterall have to step forward and be uncomfortable being the aggressor. Now again, that can lead to another ho-hum fight because Jack Catterall's nature isn't to be the aggressor, isn't to be the guy coming forward, hence his name El Gato, aka the cat. Cats are reactive, they're reactionary, they're not, you know, they're not forward thinking, and they're not the ones that make the first move, obviously, unless I guess it's a mouse they're looking at. And Harlem Eubank, for all of his novice ways, is not a mouse in this game. Put it this way, I've got a feeling the fight itself is not going to be that entertaining. I feel like it's going to be a very messy fight, just a lot of clinching, a lot of grappling, a lot of holding from both guys. So I won't be doing a watch along for it, I know that. So if I do want to be able to walk away and leave in frustration and disgust, I've got the ability to do so. That being said, I think that Harlem Eubank hasn't got enough experience to be able to take advantage of some of the gaps and the openings that Jack Catterall is going to give him. And for that purpose, I do think that Jack Catterall is going to win the fight. I think it's going to go points. I don't know if it's going to be particularly close on the cards, but I feel like it will be competitive in spots. But I do think it'll be a unanimous decision to Jack Catterall. I haven't seen enough of Harlem Eubank to make me believe that he can use the right tactics. Because you're either going to have to bulldoze Catterall, make him uncomfortable, make him have to work constantly to tire him out, or you're going to have to be the one on the back foot, make him come forward and do something he's not comfortable doing, exploit the counters, and then hurt him that way. And I just don't think Harlem has got that in the locker. I think they're banking on Jack Catterall being on the wrong side of his prime, but I still feel like he's actually, you know, he's still near enough where he needs to be in terms of prime. He's up at a new weight now, which means that he's also not having to drain down additionally to make the 140. Harlem Eubank also has only just recently gone up to 147, so there's not a big size difference between the two of them either. I just think ultimately the world level experience of Jack Catterall is going to pay dividends. He's going to navigate around this fight quite comfortably, and he's going to hand Harlem Eubank his first loss. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share. I'm going to try to get a video out for tomorrow before all the festivities, or maybe even after the show ends. We'll see. I'm not too sure if we got Fight Talk live this week, but I definitely know we got it next week and the week after that. So yeah, with that being said, thank you all for watching. Again, don't forget to like, subscribe and share. Catch you on the next one, but for right now, this Basis Picks. Look.